Pull up Planning Center here and make sure that I keep us mostly on track. Yeah, Ramsey, there's gonna be a ton of ringing. Like, I don't have this fitted good to my face at all, so just do your best. Hi, welcome. This is fun. We haven't done a workshop in quite some time, at least since Zach has been here. I don't know if did you guys do a workshop when Brett was here at all? Okay, so it's been at least since Zach. So it's been since at least Zach, which is great. I mean, not really, but I'm excited that we get to start doing these again, and that over the next few months, my hope is to do one a month. So after tonight, I'll send out one for sometime in mid to late February. And then tentatively, we're looking at sometime in March as well. Ideally, it'll be once a month through May. And then after that, I'll be gone, and it's up to the next person to keep doing workshops.
You think you're leaving, right?
Yeah, well, that's the plan. There is a very, 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 very slim chance that I stay. Partially, it boils down to the fiance's health and whether she can do school or not without having tons of health issues. She's been fighting sickness the better part of this whole semester thus far since she came back. So I'll share. She currently is in the hospital in Ann Arbor. She's been fighting, like I said, she's been fighting sickness for the better part of this semester. She hasn't eaten anything in a week. She went to the ER on Friday in Ohio, and they gave her some muscle relaxers that ended up making her worse, unfortunately, due to just acid reflux and some other things that contradicted each other with that medicine and her body. They just contradicted and made her worse. So she drove home on Monday, and anytime she tries to eat something, anything solid, even applesauce, she gets nauseous, can't keep it down. Typically when she is sick like this, smoothies are good for her. But she can't make smoothies in her dorm because she doesn't have any place to store the food and stuff that she would need. So she drove home on Monday. I don't know if she made any smoothies at all, but she didn't tell me. And then she called the hospital or called the doctor. Doctor said, well, let's just admit you and come in and we'll let you know as soon as a bed is open. A bed finally opened this afternoon. So she drove down to Ann Arbor this afternoon. She's there now in her room waiting for doctors to decide what they're gonna do. Tests. Sounds like they're gonna do a bunch of tests, and then she's also gonna talk to the surgery. She's gonna talk with the surgery team and see if there needs to be some more surgery done, but she has an ostomy bag, so she had her colon removed. I don't remember how long ago now. I don't remember if she was somewhere between the age of 15 and 18. Colon cancer, she got it from her dad. Her brother has it too. Her brother had his colon removed about a year ago now, I think. He had a ostomy bag for a little bit, but I think he has a J pouch now, which to all you non-medical people means gibberish and nothing, and I don't understand really what it means or does either. I think she explained it to me once, and I was like, okay, you'll have to explain this to me again when I ask about it. So, anywho, so that's why I say very slim chance I could be back. I could actually end up staying. Because she's thought about possibly taking a semester off and getting health and doctors and doing all of that over the next year-ish, and then finishing school and finishing her bachelor's, and then figuring out if she's going to either do her master's or go for a law degree. So That's the very slim chance. So we'll see. But don't plan on me staying. I'll say that, which is why I'm holding workshop, which is why I'm finally taking time to actually set up workshops and get them in, because we haven't done them in a while, but also I want to leave you guys in a better place than when I found you, and better trained than when I found you. We have some new faces, Caden, Jake, Caden. You guys are fairly new to the team, like as of like this school year, basically, which is awesome. And we are very excited to have you. And there's others that I know are going to be joining, watching the video later, Robert and some others. Ross is back for first time in a little while too. So there's things that I have come to realize that we need to do some training on with our new folks, but also just like reminders for us vets that have been doing this for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus years. Things that we can do to make ourselves just 5% better over the next 5 months. And that's my goal. I hope to make us 5% better over the next 5 months, 4 months, so that when I leave, you guys are just that little much better, and also some things are going to be simpler. Part of the reason why I introduced that producer role, it made switcher a whole lot simpler. It's a whole lot easier for somebody to learn and to want to learn, because it's now just pressing buttons and they're not having to call shots. And the producer is now taking that role of calling shots, where they can be a little more creative. The switcher role almost becomes a little more of an entry-level role for new folk. Producer is a little more advanced. Camera one and camera two are camera two more entry-level than camera one, and then mobile is a little more advanced. Front of house is probably easier. Nope. Broadcast is probably easier to learn than front of house, so broadcast is a little more entry level. Broadcast or front of house is a little more advanced. And I want to say front of house is a little more advanced because of the way our room is, and because of the things that we have to be aware of when we're mixing. That's for another workshop. Cameras are for another workshop. Switcher, producer, that's another workshop. Probably I'll just send out training videos on those. Anywho, that's my really long welcome and intro to tonight. Before we go any further, I'd love to pray us into this and try to get you guys out of here by 8:30. So I'll do my best to keep things concise and somewhat short. Cool? All right. God, thank you for tonight. Thank you that we're able to gather as a team and just talk through mission, vision, expectations, values, all of the foundation of why we do what we do. I pray that this is insightful and helpful to everybody, and that we're all able to learn something, and that we walk away with a better vision to where the tech team is going, and how we fit in with the other ministries at Livestream. And I pray for Emily and the doctors in Ann Arbor, and that they're just able to run the tests they need to run and figure out what is wrong with her, so that she can be healed, because God, you are the ultimate healer. So lay your healing hands in her body, and a calm, steady, a peace hand and comfort to the nurses and doctors at Ann Arbor. Bless our time together, and in your name I pray, amen. Cool. Ramsey, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. I'll probably just tell you, Ramsey, when to go to the next slide. So here's the layout for tonight. We have introduction. We're going to go through a brief history of the church, the Wesleyan Church and Livestream Church. This is part of what some of what the board and some of the staff did a couple weekends ago, to get to where the mission and values of Livestream are. They spent time looking at the church history, the Wesleyan Church history, and Livestream's history. Now, I'm not going to go through They spent like a day and a half or something together, something crazy long. And I'm not going to go into great detail on any and all of that. If you want to know more, I'd be happy to share the presentations with you as long as Chris allows me to. Otherwise, you can ask Chris, and I think he'd be happy to walk through some more of that with you. But I felt it was important that we walk through that so that you guys know how we as a staff and board got to where we're at for mission values for Livestream. And then hopefully that'll help you see how the mission and vision that I've come up with for the production team / tech team, they're intertwined, interchangeable terms, how that fits into the mission and values of Livestream. And then we'll go through expectations, and then we'll end with why, and also a little bit of a Q&A time. If you guys have questions, things you want me to answer, things you're confused about, yada, yada. Also, feel free to just stop me at any time and ask a question if you're confused, need clarification, something like that. Cool. So, introductions. You guys know me. You guys know Ramsey, for the most part, I hope. But those are our official titles that are on the website. And then you guys also know Braden, who does all of our video, sermon bumpers, et cetera, and then Jeff is our boss. We all report to Jeff to some extent or another. Jeff would have loved to be here tonight. However, I failed to inform him that we were doing this until like Thursday or Friday last week. Go figure. Good job, Ben. And two, he has a community choir that he sings in. Their rehearsal is at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, and I'm like, of course. So he would have loved to be here. However, he's not. He will probably be watching this later. So, Jeff, hello. Later down the road, future Jeff, whenever you happen to be watching that. Also, hello to Robert and Ross and those of you that couldn't make it, because I don't remember all who couldn't be here, but thanks for watching. That sounded such like a YouTube intro. Oh my gosh. Great. A brief history of the church, Wesleyan Church, and Livestream. And I need to pull up my own ProPresenter now so I can actually maybe read some of these slides that I took in here. All right, Ramsey, go ahead and go to the next slide there. Oh, shoot. Some of these didn't transfer over. Well, I guess we'll start with the timeline of Livestream. Ramsey, can you scroll down and see if the timeline of the Wesleyan Church is in there? Yes! Let's start with that. Okay, great. Hopefully these slides are correct. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The founding of the Methodist Church, so Wesleyans and Methodists, they split at one point, and I think that's mentioned a little bit later. John Wesley, hence Wesleyan. He's our founder. I wrote a bunch of this down. He's our founder. He was a pastor's kid, so his dad preached in Anglican church. And a year after, Wesley had a experience at Aldersgate, a Holy Spirit encounter. And he accepted this invitation by George Whitefield to begin preaching in the open air, which I don't remember how that was explained, how Chris necessarily explained that, but I'm interpreting that as if you know of like the Billy Graham crusades from like the 60s, that's like open air, open space, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I imagine. They're kind of just preaching out at people, and whoever's going to listen is going to listen. He was amazed by the results, and over a 50-year period, he traveled 250,000 miles on horseback to spread the gospel, which is pretty dang impressive, in my opinion. That's a lot of long ways on horseback and a lot of time. Horseback is slow, comparatively to cars that can go 70 miles an hour. he began to organize these new converts into societies that soon birthed the Methodist movement. This movement began to bring revival and reform to England. Wesley the evangelist was also Wesley the reformer, all in the name of Christ. Next slide. So he was a reformer. He called for the abolition of slavery, cared and provided programs for the poor, inspired reforms in the English prison system, fought against distilleries and abuses of alcohol, and he elevated the role of women in ministry as well. All things that, if you go into the, if you go to the Wesleyan, if you go to the denominational website, which I believe is Wesleyan.org, there is this thing called the discipline, which is where we get all of basically our position statements on things, what we believe, why we believe it, that kind of a thing. That's where all of that got crafted into. Next slide. Francis Asbury came to the United States in the 1760s, for the sole purpose of organizing the scattered small groups of Methodists into a working force to evangelize the world. There's a quote there from Carl Coffey, Rob Coffey's dad, which we'll talk more about him later on. Wherever there was a settlement in the wilderness, there soon was a Methodist church. Their zeal for evangelism and their revivals and camp meetings soon made them the dominant church in most states. These camp meetings were literally like a week long. We used to do them here in Allendale, and that I'll talk more about a little bit later on. I think I left some of those slides in the presentation. I hope I did. Next slide. So this Wesleyan denomination, like I said, the Wesleyans and Methodists split. Again, I don't know if it actually, does it say when? Yeah, anyways. So Orange Scott, Leroy, Sunderland, and Jotham Horton publicly withdrew from the denomination. I believe that's where I'm not going to actually say anything because I don't know. In 1843, a convention in Utica, New York, happened in Utica, New York. The Wesleyan Methodist connection was formalized. The new Methodists began to publicly denounce slavery, often risking their own lives to assist slaves find freedom, boldly working to see the entire system of slavery dismantled. And in 1851, Allendale Wesleyan Church was born and organized and became a Wesleyan Methodist church until it changed the name in 1968. More on that later. Next slide. Today, in the grand scheme of, I don't know how current these stats are. I did not keep the references page that Chris had in here. However, there's approximately 1,540 Wesleyan churches in North America with an average attendance of 268,000. Obviously, some bigger churches, some smaller churches, some medium-sized churches, which is great. Worldwide, there are approximately 4,302 churches with an average attendance of 382,000. And the movement continues to be deeply evangelistic, rooted in holiness, and passionate to reach this generation with the life-saving message of Jesus Christ. Again, super brief overview of the Wesleyan Church timeline. I apparently did not leave the big C church slides in there, but if you know anything about the Bible, you know the church started in Acts 2 with the Holy Spirit encounter where people thought they were drunk at whatever time it was in the morning that it says. I don't remember off the top of my head. But people were literally speaking in tongues, and their numbers grew daily. If you want to write these passages down and go look at them later, by all means go for it. But some of the historical context that goes into just the big church as the big C church, Matthew 4:18 through 21, the calling of Peter and Andrew. Matthew 28, 18 through 20, the Great Commission. Acts 1:8, go out into Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem and the ends of the earth. Acts 2, 1 through 4, which I just talked about, was the Holy Spirit encounter there. And then Acts 2, 42 through 47, which I believe is the passage that talks about their numbers growing daily. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please somebody tell me. Something that Chris said, that in the historical context of the Big C Church and how we do things, that I really liked, was everything we do has to be in the context of the Big C Church. So church as the body of believers, not the building. Everything we do has to be in that context of the Big C Church. Let's jump into, let's fast forward back to 1851 and go through the timeline of Livestream as we know it. Ramsey, go ahead and go to that next slide. So, in 1851, 9 residents met to organize the Methodist, I'm not going to try to say that word, Episcopal, thank you, Episcopal Society. Reverend William Comfort and his wife, Joseph Burlingham and his wife, Johnson Balcom and his wife, Alexander Milline and his wife, and Lucy Spear. Services were held at the Red Schoolhouse, the only school in Allendale at the time. Kind of ironic that we're now back at a school, and that we'll see a theme here if you know the history of Livestream. You'll see a theme about schools. Chris, I appreciate that Chris included some of the historical events that were going on, at the time the church was present. So 10 years into Allendale, at that time, Allendale Wesleyan Methodist Episcopal Society, or whatever it was. 10 years into that, the Civil War started. So this church, and this blew my mind when we were recapping this was that last week? 2 weeks ago, something like that. Last week, yeah, it was last week with the big snowstorm. So we were in a Zoom meeting. It blew my mind that this church was 10 years old when the Civil War started. I'm like, it blew my mind. Reverend, in 1863, Reverend D.A. Gray held a series of revival meetings that resulted in several conversions. 1877, William Wing led the congregation to build their first church building after meeting for 21 years in the Red Schoolhouse. The new building was dedicated on Sunday, January 7, 1877. Next slide.
You know where that first building was?
It was not on Scott Street.
No, that was the second
That was the second one. I don't know where that first building was.
68, it was southwest corner of 68th and Lake Michigan Drive, about where Walgreens is.
Oh.
Where the gas station is.
Or where the gas station is.
Where the mobile station is.
Yep.
Okay, that's really interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
You know what? That was mentioned in a slide, and I think I took it out of there because I was like, this is it's overkill for what we're trying to do.
I was the last baby dedicated in that church.
Oh, wow.
My sister was the first baby dedicated in the church when we moved to Scott and Avery.
Oh, wow. Wow, okay. That's wild, actually. That's really wild.
You're old. My first name came from the Scott family that came out of upstate New York, if that tells you anything. So Scott is actually a great uncle or something of mine.
Huh.
Because it was a relative of Ray Scott, who was my grandpa Stephen's father.
Interesting. The more you know about Scott McDonald. All right. In 1914, World War I started. In 1918, Reverend Lewis Clark, not the Lewis and Clark that did the expedition stuff. They started the camp meetings. That poster might actually be, no. I don't know if that poster is accurate. That might be one of the ones that Livestream did. We actually have those posters in our archives. We just looked at them a little bit today in our big year-long calendar meeting that lasted for in my opinion, far too long, but that's my opinion. We had a lot of really good conversations, though, about events and why we do some events and why we decided to maybe not do some others. Anywho, that's beside the point. So we actually looked at these, and these were like big week-long camps that were hosted on our church property. People literally tent camped for a week on our church property, and
We were over by when the camp
yeah.
actually became a permanent building. It was over where Waterman's Salon and Sherry live. Those two streets there, back in the corner back there.
Yep. I also found out today that there was, for a while before it moved to Hastings, Allendale was the host of whatever the name of the Wesleyan camp is that's in Hastings. I don't know what the name of it is. I don't know.
Campground down there in Hastings. Yeah, but
There's a name for
there's a
it.
name for it now, yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it got said today or not. But yeah, Lewis Clark started those meetings, and there were crowds of 600 to 800 people. I mean, Allendale was not 800 people big at that time, I don't think. But I mean, they were coming in from all over. And mind you, this is like, I actually don't know my car history that well. I don't know how many cars were actually being made and how many people had access to cars at that time. So we might as well have been doing like the horse and buggy thing. Next slide. 1929, the years to 39 was the Great Depression. We had the Roaring 20s, and then, the stock market just started to crash. Despite all of that, though, in 1930, and 2 years into the Great Depression here, or a year, I guess it'd be a year technically, Reverend George Smith pastored during a time where many souls, even whole families, were saved and added to the church. During this time, many updates were made to the church and property. While into the Depression, people continued to be generous, which is quite the testament to the work the Holy Spirit was doing in that church congregation at that time. In 1939, we had World War II. Next slide. And behold, Rob Coffey's father. 1957, him and his wife and their family moved and came to Allendale Wesleyan Church. He pastored for 12 years to 1969. Go ahead and go to that next slide. And the little church and property at M45 and 68 that we were just talking about was sold and torn down, is now the Mobil gas station. Right? Is it a Marathon now, or is it still Mobil?
The
Admiral. Okay. Yeah. In 1960, a new site for the church on the corner of Scott and Avery was chosen and purchased. Construction began in 1960. July 1st of 1962, dedication of the new sanctuary took place. Go ahead and go to that next slide. Dwight A. Peterson. I must have missed somebody in here somewhere. Maybe not. Dwight Peterson became pastor in 1980 to 1996, a whole 16 years.
Huh?
Forgot Kelly.
Yeah,
Ron Kelly.
Ron Kelly was.
That's who I missed.
And he became the general secretary of the
Yes.
Wesleyan Church. So Ron Kelly was in there in between them.
Ron Kelly, so yes. Thank you.
He was here 12 years.
Yeah, he was here 12 or 14 years. He still comes back to church here when he gets up in this area. He lives down in Delaware right now.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Yeah, that must have been in there, and I don't know if I missed it or I don't know. I might have taken it out on accident. And actually, so before this, we built a new fellowship hall in 1972, and the church parking lot was paved, and a new organ was purchased in 75. And then in 1980, Dwight Peterson came along. In 85, there was a complete remodel. The sanctuary was gutted, renovated, new carpeting, windows, doors. We increased the seating to 400 people with new pews. Go ahead and go to that next slide. And then in 2001, we had Ken DePeel. And 2001 was also the 150th anniversary of Allendale Wesleyan Church. And then obviously September 11, sad day, the World Trade Center. But that all happened in that same time as well. So fun fact, actually, question, I'm gonna make you guys think and do math. So if the 150th anniversary was in 2001, when would our 175th anniversary be? 2026. 2026. So we're already thinking of things that we can do in 2026 that help celebrate our 175th. Next slide. Ken pastored until 2007 when Pastor Jim came and became Allendale. We were still Allendale Wesleyan Church at the time. Shortly after Jim showed up, Jeff and Lori also showed up. During Jim's leadership, the church and staff grew exponentially. His visionary leadership set the stage for where we are today. A lot of things happened, obviously, as we know, during Jim's time.
Here's the fun fact. What happened 2 weeks before Pastor Jim showed up?
I have no idea.
He sold the old church building.
Oh, yeah, so that's probably in here soon. If you go to that next slide, Ramsey.
It was literally 2 weeks before he showed up. We sold
Yeah.
the old church.
2007, sounds like right before Jim showed up, the church on Scott and Avery Street was sold.
Yep.
I wonder if that's the church that I have like really like super really vague memories of.
CYC classes there? Did you go to the Wednesday night CYC classes?
Oh man, maybe. Like 2007, I would have been
Jim and I
4.
remember this stuff. We go back a ways.
Was I there? Okay, was that like the really early years of like what became Route 252? So what?
Melanie said she remembers teaching you or something.
So how old were you in 2007?
I was 4.
Probably more the Sunday school in the mornings.
Yeah,
It was
there
Sunday
was
school, not the Wednesday night program. Then.
right.
Summer camp, whatever, because
Oh,
Maybe it was summer camp.
it might have been summer camp. Yeah,
carrying a book that had more in it, but it also had
Yeah,
but
that time, I think you were.
because Brian Jones was here when Pastor Ken was here,
okay.
when DePeel was here.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I have like really like super vague, like don't remember much, but I remember another building I was in as a like 2 or 3 year old. And it must have been that church on.
It's where the funeral home is now. You'll go back.
Okay. If I'm buried, jeez. All right, well, let's just start with the mortality jokes, why don't we? Man, that was a...
That was an easy shot.
Scott, I'm not that old yet. I mean, I know
They were voting Scott off the ticket.
Oh, man. Then in 2008, there was the financial crisis. And then from 2008 to 2011, we met in the Fine Arts Center at the high school, which I have more memories of meeting in the Fine Arts Center than I do at the Scott and Avery Street. I remember meeting in the high school choir room for Sunday morning, kids, and Chris Breen and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. November 22, 2009, we became what we are now, Livestream Church, based on John 7:37 through 39. So if you've been paying attention over the last month, Chris has repeated that verse like 8,000 times. But it's an important verse because it is where we get our name, Livestream Church. I'm not going to take the time to read the verse. Chris is going to mention, I'm sure Chris will mention it again this Sunday. I just have a feeling. Because he just does that. Go ahead and go to that next slide. 2010, 2011, we purchased the building we're in now, the old high school, middle school, and moved into it 159 years after starting the Red Schoolhouse. Now, do you guys remember when we were in the camping phase in the gym? And then do you remember coming in here and writing verses on the floor? I would imagine, I don't know actually if they're still here. Are they underneath the stage?
A bunch of it underneath the stage and never got resurfaced.
Okay. But because a lot of this got resurfaced, didn't it? Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Enjoy those pictures.
We owned a piece of property in between there that we were going to build on, and then we sold that.
Oh. Okay.
We owned
Yeah.
the 64th, we're west. Dew Point West is. We
Oh.
owned the acreage there, and then when this building became available, it sat vacant for a couple of years, and then as a school board, we voted to sell it to the church.
Oh.
I actually carried that check.
Thank
check
you.
from Grand Haven from the Wesleyan Church back to the school because I was a school board representative at that time.
Oh. Yeah, you were a school board rep for a
I
while.
had a check for $1 million in my hand at one time.
That's insane.
Do you remember when they gave a big party in here and they were like, say goodbye to the school, and they had bands and everything because they were going to tear it down, and then the next week we bought it and they didn't tear it down.
It was a little longer than that because it stood vacant, and when we looked at what it was going to cost, to
That's
tear it down,
ironic.
it became better to sell it.
Oh. Interesting. Huh. Oh yeah. We that was talked about a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah. We talked about that a little bit of
It was
stuff.
vacant for 2 years before we took it over here.
Okay. Yeah. Next slide. Ripple Effect was started by Rich and Sandy Joslin, relatives of Ramsey, grandparents. Okay. And they were funding the missions, our missions fund, for a long while. From 2007 to 2020, our staff and congregation grew exponentially, and attendance went from 250 to 1,100, which is that's such an insane jump in 13 years to me. But yeah, staff also, I think there was like 4 staff in 2007. It was Jim, Jeff, Lori, and I don't know who the other person was. Probably Chris, probably Colleen, maybe.
Yeah, did Chris come over from Ken? Yeah, I think it was Chris.
But there was,
2 secretaries.
yeah, there was like 4, there was only a handful of staff in 2007, and now we're up to, I don't know how many staff, 12, 13, 14, 15, something like that now. 19, yeah, I don't know where we're at. There's so much staff now, which is great. In 2018, we know about the Making Room campaign to expand our lovely worship center to what we have now. Next slide, Ramsey. Fully Restore campaign began in 2019. 2020 was COVID. And then 21 and 22, renovations to Hub, Studio, Commons, staff offices, and planned debt reduction was completed. So the building got all renovated to how we see it is, how you guys see it now. And then 23 to 24, we obviously had the pastoral transition time. Go ahead and go to that next slide. And Pastor Chris came in July of 2024. We voted him in July 14th of 2024. Yes, 14th. And then I think his official start date was January 21. And then to catch a few of you new folks up, he was basically traveling back and forth between here and Texas. He would preach for 3 weeks. He'd be gone for a couple weeks. He'd preach for like 3 or 4 weeks, be gone for a couple weeks as he was trying to move him and his whole family back up here to God's country. And go ahead and go to that next slide, Ramsey. And then we're 174 years old in a denomination that is 95 years old, tracing our roots back to the very birth of the church at Pentecost in 33 AD. So this is this is I left this quote in this slide in here because I thought it was important. It's a great transition piece. We are stewards of his church in this season. The big question, and maybe the only one, is, Lord, what would you have us do in the next season to release the power of your gospel through our church? We are all stewards of his church in this season, and with his help, we will hand it to the next generation in great shape. That's a quote from Intentional Churches. I don't know if it's a book or a company or something. Not 100% sure. But that's where the quote came from. Go ahead and go to that next slide. So in 10 years, what will be our largest contribution to Christendom, the Wesleyan denomination / region, Allendale, Ottawa County, the world, and how does looking at our past help us to see our future? Questions that chew on. We don't need to discuss and answer them now or tonight, but just things that chew on. Go ahead and go to that next slide. So we're going to start to dive into values a little bit. The values, actually, Ramsey, is the mission slide in there? Can you go to that one first? Sorry, mission. Nope, mission of live stream. If not, I downloaded the presentation, the production team workshop presentation. It's also in that same playlist. If you're missing slides that apparently did not get transferred over. Yes. Okay. So this is the mission statement that came out of that day and a half that the board and staff, part of the staff, spent together. That all may encounter and be transformed by the power and presence of God. Now, comparatively, I think I wrote this down. By the way, this is a working mission statement. This is not set in stone. This could change in a month, 2 months, in a year, 2 years. Just know it's fluid and could change. So,
Kind of like Ramsey's piping for the fog machine.
yes,
Okay.
yes, that could change. It's a fluid situation. So the other our old mission statement, I guess, says, I don't think I put this in there, so I don't think there's a slide in there for that, Ramsey. Our old mission statement was prayerfully listening to God's leading and strategically acting to reach people in our community and world with the love of Christ. So that was our old mission. This is our new working mission for the church. We did not talk about a vision, but as far as I know, our vision still stands as people living and sharing the story of God. I knew I was missing a word in there. Thanks. As far as I know, that is our vision statement, and that has not changed. If it changes, I will let you know, or I'm sure you'll hear about it. Go ahead and go to that value slide. No, values of live stream. Oh, that's okay. There we go. All right. So we broke these up into 2 categories based on the words encounter and transformation in our working mission statement. So the first one there is contagious love, which is a better phrasing of our you are loved slogan, I guess is the word I'm going to use. But it's unconditional, contagious, Christ-like love. Man, I did not proofread these. Audacious prayer, dependency on God, humility, fasting, spirit-filled worship, creative, innovative, lifelong worshipers. The transformation section, spiritual transformation as it comes through small groups, Bible studies, leadership development, community impact, engagement, just the welcoming, friendly, invitational environment that we hold, as well as the welcoming and invitational kids ministry that we have, and student ministry. The strategic gospel engagement, so missions, local global missions, the sending out of people to do missions, to serve in our community and into other communities. But also like searching for the one and trying to reach those people in our community, trying to bring them into our church, whether it's an Allendale resident or a GVSU student or somebody, just trying to bring people in so they can hear the gospel too. And then generosity, the time, the talent, the treasure of service. Go ahead and go to the next slide. All of that brings us to mission and vision of our little production team. Hopefully, you guys see, hopefully that the history helped you see like where we've been and how we've got here. And hopefully you see how the mission and the values kind of came out of that. I know I didn't do a great job of explaining a lot of that. Feel free to, if you want to know more history about the church, the Wesleyan Church live stream, talk to Chris or talk to me, and I'll talk to Chris to see if I can send you the presentation. Because there's a lot of really good information in the presentations that he went through. So I'll start with our mission statement. This is a long mission statement. I have a hard time writing concisely, so I apologize. But our mission statement, and again, this is a working mission statement because I am going to try to work to make these more concise, less words, so that it's easier to remember and to understand. Mission: to create authentic and impactful media experiences that invite all to encounter and be transformed by the power and presence of God. Through excellence in production and a spirit of collaboration, we seek to inspire, engage, and foster meaningful connections that glorify Him. Vision statement: to see lives transformed and faith deepened as people encounter God through authentic, high-quality media that inspires and connects in powerful ways. So, this is the whole reason I'm trying to make us 5% better and make things simpler so that more people can encounter the gospel, can hear the gospel, can experience church, can experience the love of Christ, the love of a church body, of a church community, in as much of a distractionless environment as possible. Everything, and I'll get into this a little later in the why, towards the end. But everything I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a distraction-free environment, while also putting out a really, really solid, quality. I hate the word production, but production. I hate the word production in a church environment because it feels too, I don't know. It just feels too to me. I don't know how to explain that better. But and that comes down to like the choices of camera shots, why we do some camera shots, why we don't do other camera shots, why we're trying to simplify things with a producer role, why I'm gonna work on creating standard operating procedures for every position so that we know exactly what we're doing on Sunday, but also trying to leave some room for creativity still. I hope that I can continue to foster a environment of creativity for us while holding us to a high standard for production. Because the fact of the matter is, we're reaching 550 plus people online every week. People are tuning in to watch. And that's 550 plus people on average hearing the gospel, which is a significant increase from just 2 years ago. I mean, that's is that a double? That's, our online average 2 years ago was 267, I believe. So we've almost doubled in the span of 2 years our average online audience, which is awesome. And that's translating to the numbers we're seeing in-house as well. We're seeing over 1,000 consistently in-house most every weekend now, since the beginning of November. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. So there is a quality, there is a standard that I'm going to hold us to, which is why when we get to the expectations portion, there is such a high expectation standard, and I'm going to hold you to that. And and again, I'm not going to ask you guys to do anything I wouldn't do, or anything that I wouldn't hold myself to. That's why that's a little bit of the why behind this, why we're doing this tonight, why we're starting here and not jumping into camera training or audio training or switcher training or slides training or lights training. Again, like I said, we haven't done a workshop in like 3 years. So I decided that we need to have a base. We need to start somewhere. And that somewhere needed to be a mission and vision expectations night where I sit and talk at you for an hour and a half. Sorry, but we need a base foundation. Go ahead and go to that next slide. Should be a quote. Yeah. So Todd Elliott, he wrote this book called "I Love Jesus, but I Hate Christmas," and it's Todd Elliott. He's I believe he's the CEO of Philo, which is, He created Philo, which is a big church tech conference, which Jeff and I are going to talk about possibly probably streaming here and hosting here. It's a 2-day event. It's really great info.
Go ahead, what does Philo stand for?
Philo stands for first in, last out.
Why is it called that?
Because tech people are usually the first people into the building and the last people out. And that could not be more true. It's wild. I get here at 6:30 on Sundays, and I'm usually the first one in the building, unless it's baptism. And then Steve beats me here, and I don't know what time he gets here, but he beats me here. And then I'm usually the last one to leave the building after service on Sunday, after everything gets shut down. But likewise, you guys are usually the first non-staff people here on Sunday morning at 7:15, 7:20, 7:30 when you guys get here. And you guys are usually some of the last to leave too. So, first in, last out. So he wrote this book, again, called "I Love Jesus, but I Hate Christmas." Us techs really love and hate the Christmas season. We love Jesus, but we hate the Christmas season because it's so busy. Now, this quote I found on the Philo website. But it doesn't just relate to Christmas. I think it relates to tech as a whole. The challenge with being so task-driven is that it can be easy to start seeing the people you're leading as a means to an end and not as real people with real gifts to help build up the body of Christ. A little bit of a leadership quote that, one, I thought was really interesting, and it was a really good reminder that I am dealing with real people. I'm dealing with you guys who are humans, and I can't expect you to be perfect. And you guys have gifts that you guys are all talented in. However, that also goes for all of you too. Y'all have gifts that y'all are talented in and are great at. And so as we interact and collaborate and work with each other, just a reminder to remember that everybody has different gifts, and that's how we all work together. That's how we all come together as a team. It's like trying to play basketball with 4 people on the court, 4 on 5. You're not going to win games. You might score a point. Maybe you might score a couple points, but you're not going to win any games. You're not going to win any games. You're not going to win any championships. You can have the best coach in the world, but 4 on 5 is tough. You need that 5th person. Likewise, we all need each other, so we can put the best, so we can put out our best so that people can hear the gospel and get connected and all of that I said before. Go to that next slide. Alex Seeley, she spoke at Philo last year. She's I think she's the last main session speaker. She's a pastor at I believe it's Belonging Co. Church in Nashville. Yes, Nashville. Her and her husband pastor together. She said, what you are doing is not just production or technical execution. You are carrying the presence of God. We can't compete with the world, but we can set the world on fire by carrying the presence of God. Again, so it goes back to what we do as techs is really important. We may, I always say that it's a blessing to have a small role in a church service or just in somebody's life, right? In reality, we actually have a much bigger role than we sometimes realize we do. Because if it wasn't for if it wasn't for us, service in-house could go on, as normal, but we would not be reaching 550 people online. I mean, honestly, if we didn't have a sound system, there's no way people in the loft could hear what Chris was preaching about. There's no way people, even in the back half of these rows, could hear what Chris was preaching about. So we do play a very significant role in services, in people, in the atmosphere here, and how in the atmosphere that is set, which is again why I go back to trying to create as much of a distractionless environment as possible, which I'll get into more to, and when we get to the expectations. But we are carrying the presence of God. We are serving the Lord, and people are going to see Christ through us, even though we might just be sitting behind a camera, or sitting behind a soundboard, or sitting behind the lights computer, or sitting in the production room behind ProPresenter or Switcher, or standing up behind Switcher and ProPresenter calling the shots, or standing in the tech booth reminding people, hey, we have 5 slides left, and Jeff is leading the next song, and this is a Keys intro. Even the smallest, little bits of information that our directors give to us is actually playing such a big role. Even when you're sitting on slides where you probably think you're actually doing nothing, or sometimes it feels like you're doing nothing besides just clicking through slides so people can read the lyrics and see see the songs we're singing. We're setting that. It's part of setting the atmosphere, and we're allowing people to worship. We're giving them the lyrics so that they can sing and worship and encounter the Holy Spirit, encounter the presence of God. So yes, we are carrying the presence of God with us as we serve on tech, even though we blend into the background a lot of times. Next slide. That brings us to expectations. There's a lot there, and I'm going to talk through them. And there are some that are kind of a harsh, high standard. But, like I said, we're growing as a church, and there's some things that I haven't enforced and that I've been relaxed on because I haven't necessarily taken the time to enforce them, and I'm really just filling this role. So there's times where I don't feel like I can necessarily enforce things because I don't know how the next person is going to do it. But over the last few months, I've realized, no, I need to leave this place better than I found it. There was things that I think Brett might have been relaxed on too, that didn't necessarily always get enforced. So there's a lot of scary things up there. But we'll start with, we'll just start at the top and go down. So not that this has been an issue, more so a reminder, but just phones away and silenced during our pre-service meeting, our prayer time with the worship team, and then debrief afterwards. It's important that you're present and here with us and not distracted by your phone during those times. Communication. Part communication things. If you're running late, please tell me. Do everything in your power to shoot me a text. If you don't have my phone number, I will give it to you after I finish this thought. But it's also at the end of my emails. At the end of all of my emails that I send out. I'm pretty sure it's at the end of my planning center emails. If it's not the end of my planning center emails, I'm trying to remember. It's for sure at the end of my emails that come from my livestreamweb.org email account. It's at the end of all my emails, so like if I'm replying to you, it's there. I guarantee it's there. If it's not at the end of my planning center emails, I will make sure to add it there so that you guys have access to it. Please do everything in your power to get a hold of me if you're running late, so I know that you're running late, and so I know where you're at. Especially if it's Sunday morning, I'm expecting you to be there, right? There is a 3-strike policy, which I will discuss and go into more detail later. I know it sounds harsh, but again, we're growing as a church, we're growing in-house, online, and I want to leave this place better than I found it. So there I'm setting an expectation, and I'm going to hold you guys to it. Likewise, if for some reason I'm running late on a Sunday morning or a Thursday night, I will let Ramsey know or Jeff know. And so if you guys are like, well, where's Ben? Ask Ramsey or Jeff. I guarantee they'll tell you I'm running late. PCO, please, for the love of God, and everything you believe in, accept or decline your PCO requests. Holy cow. Like,
As someone who has had to build the schedule before, I feel
please do not leave a question mark on your PCO so that there will be times where I get to Sunday morning and I'm looking through the team and question mark on camera 2, question mark on media. Like, guys, I don't know if you're going to be here if you don't accept. Like, yeah, you might show up on Thursday night for rehearsal, but like, I don't know if you're actually going to make it on Sunday morning because I don't know that, like, between Thursday and Sunday, there's a lot that happens in my life personally. And I don't always remember who was here on Thursday night, if I'm just being honest. So please accept your PCO requests. And likewise, please accept or decline requests by Tuesday of the week you're serving so I have time to find somebody before Thursday night, especially if it's a position that needs to be here on Thursday night. Please do everything that you can to accept or decline by Tuesday. If for some reason you can't accept or decline by Tuesday of the week, text me that week and let me know that, hey, I've got this and this and this. I've got this thing and I'm not sure if I can make it this week, but I might be able to. I'll let you know by Friday. And I'll probably shoot you a text back, say, that's fine, just keep me updated, type of thing. But do everything in your power to accept or decline by Tuesday. And I will do everything in my power to get you the schedule in ample time. Speaking of, work on your March blockout dates. I'm going to be working on that schedule probably towards the end of this week, early next week, and getting it sent out by the end of next week. So, Scott, you look like you want to say something.
I think the last Milo conference I was at, they said less than 40% of the people accept or decline requests in PCO.
Yeah. Less than 40%. That's less than half the team. We can do better than that. Exactly. We can do better than that. Actually, the majority of the time we do better than that.
Hey, my March and April dates are marked out already, so.
Blockout dates. Yeah, you guys can add blockout dates as far ahead of time as you know. It doesn't affect whether the service is in planning center yet or not.
I feel really strongly that if you don't block out the date, you really should accept. I think we have ample time to let him know because he has to build the schedule. And because he's got to move people around and say, well, I'll put this person here, this person here, and this person here. And he'll do it for a whole month. And then if one person says, no, I can't do it, Now he's gotta go back to the drawing board and say, well, this person only knows camera, and that person only knows this, and so now he's gotta switch everybody around. Please do your blackout dates,
Please, thank you.
please.
Denise, thank you. Yes, so please do your blackout dates. It really is helpful. Now, like, do as much as you can. Get those blackout dates in. If, something comes up later, fine, get it in, let me know. But blackout dates are super helpful. Now, I will also do my best. I know there have been times in the last year and almost a half that I've been here where I've scheduled you guys for like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. I promise I will do my best when I build the schedule out. I do my best to not schedule you for more than 3 weeks in a row at a time. I just texted Ross today and it was like, hey, is it okay if I take you off the schedule for this date and this date because you've been on for like 8 weeks in a row or something like that. And I hadn't realized it. Because I'll start doing schedules and I won't always necessarily remember to keep the last 2 weeks of the month on so I can see. So I will do everything in my power to make sure that you guys have weeks off, but also aren't serving more than 3 weeks in a row. Gonna do my best to get you guys at least 1 week off a month, 4 weeks in a month. So we have enough people that I should be able to do that, hopefully. No call, no show. There's also a 3-strike policy for that. I'll discuss it later. We haven't had a ton of issues with that. However, it's a policy that I'm implementing because, again, as the church grows, our team is also going to grow. So, our team is also going to grow because the church is growing and because we just need more help because you guys need more time off and all of that. I'll discuss that more on that later. Comms. When you're talking on comms, when you're not talking on comms, please leave your mic off. Do not latch your mic or leave. I know with the wireless ones, it's easy to leave down and forget that you have it down. Do everything that you can. Remember, flip it back up on the wireless ones. On the wired ones, do not leave your comms on, please. It muddies communication. It makes it hard for people to hear, especially if we're calling camera shots, and especially if your comm system is 1 or 2 or mobile, you're picking up everything that you're picking up the room too. And so it just gets muddied. And it's also just really annoying to listen to. Mark.
Certain positions need to be latched at certain times, like
Yes.
switcher slash.
Producer. Yes. Yep. Correct. Thank you. Yes. Certain positions can be latched at certain times. Worship for switcher / producer, depending on the team and who we have, that can be latched. During the sermon, we're switching like every 3 or 4 minutes, so it doesn't need to be latched that whole time. But yeah, do your best to not leave your mics latched, or on the wireless headsets, leave them down. Do everything in your power to just make sure they're off so we can have clear communication, so that everybody can hear everybody, and so that our critical positions that need to hear things can hear things. Rehearsal is at 7 p.m. on Thursdays. Notice that required is bolded. Media, broadcast, front of house. Please, I'm requiring you to be here. Be here. Media, especially for slides, so worship team has lyrics and chords. Front of house, this gives you a chance to EQ, compress, get rid of any possible issues we might have, feedback, whatever that we might run into. It gives you Thursday night to get rid of all of that. Even if we have to do a 15-minute sound check or even a 20-minute sound check just for you to EQ everything on Thursday night to save us time on Sunday morning, please do it. Sunday morning sound checks at front of house should just be, Amanda, sing. Okay, great, I have signal. Awesome, you're good. Lori, play keys. Oh, great. I have signal. Okay, we're good. It should just literally be a line check to make sure everything has signal and we don't have any issues. We should not be re-EQing on Sunday morning. We should not be recompressing on Sunday morning during sound check. Now, if there's something that you hear while you're mixing, while the songs are going, Sunday morning, and you need to re-EQ it live while they're doing their thing. We can dive more into how to do all of that in an audio training, in a front of house training, broadcast training. Broadcast Thursday nights are so important because that is the time where, again, you go through and also EQ and compress everything. Which at some point that's gonna be a workshop too, because there needs to be some intentional training there. One, because there's more things that we can do to be better, but also two, some people wanna learn. And shadowing on Sunday morning for broadcast is not always just enough. And even on Thursday nights, also not enough. Shadows, if you're shadowing any of those 3 positions that need to be here on Thursday night, be here. Get it into your routine, into your brain, so that when you are doing it on your own, that you're also here, right? So that you're also here on Thursday night and can able and understand the flow of things. No, you're good. Likewise, if for some reason you cannot be here on Thursday night, let me know. Please let me know. And I'll do my best to either find somebody to cover if it's like front of house or slides. Otherwise, if it's broadcast, if you can't be here, please let me know. But do everything in your power to be here. Because at broadcast, again, you have to EQ, compress, all of that we normally do you guys normally do on Sunday morning. Needs to really be done on Thursday night so that you can focus on mixing, especially if we run into issues Sunday morning. You can focus on fixing those issues Sunday morning because you've already got 95% of your issues fixed on Thursday night with EQ, compression, gain, all of the things. Also, again, it also gives you a chance to hear how the songs are going to go too, and how the band's going to play them, and so it gives you a chance to actually mix and practice mixing. So it's great to build your skills too. It's a chance for you to practice mixing without we're live. I was going to try this thing, but we're live. I don't want to try it because we're live, and what if I mess up? Not saying that you can mess up. It's okay to make mistakes, but Thursday night is also a great time to try new things, especially at front of house too. Same thing. Sunday morning, 7:30, we meet on stage for prayer. I think most everybody knows that. Please be here by 7:30. If you are running late, let me know. Shoot me a text. Same thing on Thursday nights. If you're running late or can't be here, shoot me a text. Early, if anybody's done band, your band director's probably said this. Early is on time is late. So please be here before 7:30 on Sunday. I get here at 6:30. I think doors unlock at 7, if I'm not mistaken. So you can get here as early as 7 if you want. Or you can get here at 6:30 with me if you want. I'll let you in the building. That's up to you. Yes. Excellence in everything that we do. Putting our best work out each and every week. Doing everything to the best of our ability. Excellence. I don't think I need to beat that horse dead. It's pretty straightforward. Outside of serving, I also expect that you are growing your relationship with the Lord and taking your own personal Bible time, devotional time, so that you can continue to pour out. Because take it from me, because I've been there, done that, where I haven't done that consistently necessarily. I haven't done it. I've been there where I haven't done it, and I continue serving, and I get burnt out because it gets too overwhelming, because I'm tired. I promise if you do your daily devotions, spend time in your Bible, 10, 15 minutes, is all. Spend time in prayer to grow your relationship with the Lord. I promise it will sustain you. It's quite the amazing thing. When you figure that routine out, you'll be amazed how much longer you're going. Oh my gosh, it's 8:33. I need to wrap this up. I already talked about accepted decline. If something comes up later in the week, like after Tuesday, like say you accept by Tuesday and something comes up later in the week where you can't make it, please text me. I respond much faster to text than I do email, 99% of the time. There have been times where I will just click on an email, read it, and forget to respond because I get busy doing other things. So please text me. I'll share my number at the end of all of this. It'll be easier that way. Camera 2 and tech booth, just a reminder to keep your voices down when you're talking on comms and when you're just talking, like especially, I know we tend to have conversations in the tech booth, like during service. Just a reminder to keep your voices down so that we're not distracting people in these couple of rows here where people can hear us from the tech booth. I realize we have that plexiglass that's supposed to be somewhat soundproof to allow us to talk a little more, but it doesn't always do its job. So just a reminder to keep your voices down. Like during the sermon specifically, because that tends to be most noticeable because we don't have worship in a full house and people are singing in a band and everything that can help drown out some of that. So next slide.
That could also apply to the production room too, because the extracurricular
Oh.
conversations back there
Yes.
can be super distracting for switcher, for media.
Yes, good point, Jeff.
If I get lost on media, I know I've thrown the team for a loop because where to go next?
Yep. Good point. Production room too. Just keep your voices down, or like, if you want to have a conversation with somebody, and if you can step away from your position to do it, do it. If not, try to wait until after service is done, between services, whatever. Maybe just say, hey, let's set up a time to grab coffee or something this week, and we can chat.
I sometimes will just write notes on my run sheet of things I want to talk
Yep.
about between services.
Write notes on your run sheet. Use your run sheet more than you do. I know it's there to for you to know what's going on during service, but yeah. Okay, no call, no show breakdown. The important note here is that this is based on the last 3 months of serving. So example, February, March, April. This would reset at the beginning of May for May, June, July. The first time you don't call me or text me and tell me that you aren't going to be here, or the first time you don't show up on Sunday morning, just a reminder, it'll just be a reminder from me or whoever the production engineer is, just about expectations. Obviously, there's grace, but it's just a reminder on expectations. Side note, I based the way I wrote these and how I did these off of you know how high schools and teachers have phone policies? And it's like, first time's a reminder, second time is a conversation with me, the third time I'm taking it and you're going to the principal's office. I based it off of this because I figured it seemed to be the easiest. Second time, no call, no show. You'll have a one-on-one meeting with me or whoever the production engineer is. And I will remind you, or whoever the production engineer is, will remind you of the expectations. We'll have a discussion of their importance. And we will also discuss why you no called, no showed. Third no call, no show. Remember, this is over the span of 3 months. So if you no call, no show in February, that carries into March and April. It doesn't reset until May. Third time you no call, no show. You'll have a discussion with Jeff and myself, or whoever the production engineer is, about why you continue to no call, no show. Reminder and discussion of expectations and their importance. We will also likely ask you to take some time away from serving to refresh and to reset. I realize this is a harsh, high expectation. Again, I want to leave this team better than when we found it. It's also imperative that you are here on Sunday morning if you accept. So we're not scrambling on Sunday morning to, one, figure out where you are, but also, two, figure out how we're going to pivot with the team to cover your position. So please, 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 please be here on Sunday morning. Yes?
I think it's important to remind everyone that, yeah, what we do is a talent that we have. Like, we're all good at this and we've all shown interest in it, but that's not the main reason why we do what we do. It's
Correct.
serving God.
Correct.
With this, and so you, as each of us should in our hearts, be trying to treat this as a time of worship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a moment where we get together with Him. And if we continue to focus on that, I'm doing this for Him, not for Ben or the church. Doing this for God. That will help you keep your heart in the right place and
Yep.
focus on showing up.
Exactly that. Yes. All of that. So yes. Ditto Mark. What Mark said.
I don't know if I said that in the best way, but I think you guys understand.
I think we understand what you're trying to say. Okay, next slide. Late policy. So again, this is based off the last 3 months of serving, and it's also based on you not communicating to me that you're going to be late. So like I said, if you're going to be late or can't be here, please, 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 please text me. Let me know. Or decline on Planning Center by Tuesday of the week you're serving. And again, this will reset every 3 months. So February, March, April, it would reset at the beginning of May. First time being late, a reminder from me or whoever the production engineer is about our expectations and why we hold you to these expectations. Grace given, obviously. Second time you're late, a one-on-one with me or whoever the production engineer is, and reminder and discussion of expectations and their importance and why you were late. Third time you were late, discussion with Jeff and myself or the production engineer, whoever the production engineer is, about why you continue to be late. Reminder and discussion of expectations and their importance. We will, again, also likely to ask you to take some time away from serving to reset, refresh, get your heart back in the right space. Mark, thanks for being here. Yes. Also, sorry, I realize I'm past our 8:30 time. I'm rambling a bit. So I will do my best to wrap this up fast. Again, it's important to me that you are here on time because we have jobs to do. I also realize you're all volunteers and you're not getting paid to do any of this. So that's why there's some grace, and that's why there's grace. That's why I have it set up like this. But also, we have a job to do. We have a service to do, right? So, but again, this is if you're not communicating to me, you're going to be late. If you tell me you're late, if you're going to be late, that's fine. The policy doesn't apply. But I just need to know you're late. This is based on me not knowing that you're going to be late or not going to be here. I also realize that right now we're in winter and roads can be rough and atrocious. So there is grace given there too for rough roads. I drive in from Wyoming every Sunday morning and every day of the week that I'm here. So I generally have an idea of how the roads are coming in. So if the roads are rough coming in at 6:30 in the morning, I'm going to expect that they're still going to be rough when you're coming in at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, whenever you happen to be driving on them. So I will make sure I take note of that and allow time. Because I also realize that, like, if you get on the roads and you're like, oh, the roads are bad, it's going to take me longer to get there. I also realize you can't really text me while you're driving. Or I should say, you shouldn't text me while you're driving.
So basically, you're looking for people that are habitually
Correct. Yes.
following the expectations.
Correct.
it's not the once in a while, oh my gosh, or.
Correct. This is, yes, this is all habit based. Yes. So like, but again, this is all also based on you not telling me that you're going to be late, right? So like, if I don't know you're going to be late, I'm expecting you to be here on time. And so if you show up, if you're supposed to be here at 7:30 and you don't show up until 8 o'clock, and I didn't know you weren't going to show up until 8 o'clock, because you were in late or woke up late or whatever, then that's where this policy comes into play, right?
How do I do that on the county that I can't call the one on the county that I don't have a phone? I can only email, that's all I have. How would I let you know if I'm running late?
Email. You can email me, or I will. Again, I'm gonna tell you all my number at the end of the night, so you can write it down. You can pass your number along to your parents so that they can text me. Because yes, I realize you probably don't have a phone. You have a phone. Jake, you have a phone? Okay, yeah. You're not quite to that age yet. Yes. So have either email me ASAP or have your parents text me ASAP. Okay, cool. But yes, this is all, again, based on me knowing, on me not knowing that you're going to be late. So please tell me if you're going to be late so I know you're going to be late so I can plan for you to be late. Cool? Cool. Great. Next slide. Ramsey. No, you're good. Oh, is it not in? Okay, great. Oh, sweet. You're amazing. To the why, the last little bit here. We are an asset to the worship team in helping set the atmosphere so the church body can come encounter the transformational power of God. We strive to create a distractionless environment for the church body, reaching 1,000 plus in-house and 550 plus online each week. It's important for us to keep these things in mind so that we can serve the body to the best of our ability. Like I said earlier, we play a much bigger role than we realize sometimes, even though we are just in the background. We are setting the atmosphere, how loud we mix, the type of camera shots we use, the type of lighting we use. That's all part of setting the atmosphere, right? At some point, we're gonna have an audio workshop, and I'm gonna go through and tell you what dB levels to mix at. I will probably send out an email to all of our front of house engineers saying, shoot for these dB levels on this scale so that until we have this training, we're all at least on the same page. Last weekend when I mixed, I realized that it can be hard to keep our levels at a decent level, especially when we had 12 vocalists on stage this last weekend, and drums and guitars and everything. It can be hard to keep our levels tame sometimes, especially when we're building a song and getting to an exciting part. However, that's what part of Thursday night is for, is understanding that and being aware of that so that we can set our levels on all of our inputs correctly, gain, staging, compression. The one thing I realized on Thursday night is when I copied the scene when I go through and create the scenes on our board, I just copy from the previous week. So like pretty much anything that and we weren't compressing any of our inputs. So which means when somebody gets really loud, they're gonna get really loud. But when they're really quiet, they're gonna be really quiet, and there's no in between. There's no normalization of level between loud and quiet. And that's part of what the compressor does. Now, part of that, us not having compressors set correctly and the inputs not hitting the compressors correctly, is our gain staging. Our gain staging is way out of whack. Partially that's on me, partially that's just a training thing that we need to do. But keeping our levels lower in house allow us to actually be creative with our mix and build with our mix. One thing that I enjoyed doing last weekend mixing front of house was when the song would build, I would start pushing all my groups up and intentionally make it louder to build with the song. But as soon as the song dropped back down, I pulled it back down. So there is some creativity there. It is not 95% of the time we should be shooting for this set of levels, this dB range. However, there is flexibility to go above that when a song is really building, but pull it right back down as soon as the song stops building. Camera shots, same thing. Pushing, pulling, panning. Like, we can be, in a fast song, faster pans are great because it matches the energy of the song. Slower pans are hard because they're left to right, and so, like, you don't want to, like, whip it across in a fast song, but you also don't want to go, like, take, like, 10 seconds to go across the whole stage in a faster song, right? But, like, in a slower song, when we're fading out, or even when we're zooming out or zooming in, we're pulling out or pushing in, slower pushes and pulls on a slower song to match the energy of the song. Same thing with pans. And how we switch cameras and the different types of camera shots we use. So there's all of kind of the why, the expectations, vision, mission, history, vision, mission of Livestream, vision, mission of the production team. Questions, comments, concerns, funny memes, snotty remarks, things I can help you clarify. I realize it is 8:50 and it's late, and I know some of y'all got school tomorrow, myself included. And some of y'all got work, the rest of y'all got work tomorrow, possibly really early. But anything that I can take time right now to help you understand, clarify more, make clear. Nothing? No questions? Cool. I will send this recording out to all y'all too, so that y'all have it. In case you want to reference it again, go through something. Maybe you're like, oh, what was that thing he talked about? Oh, yeah, that's that thing he talked about. Yeah. And then for those that couldn't be here, thanks for joining us in the future. We appreciate your time. Oh, Ramsey, I just realized I set that thing to stop at 8:30.
I added 30 minutes to it.
Oh, Ramsey, you're amazing. Okay, great. So future folk that are going to be watching this, Jeff and Robert and Ross and those that couldn't be here, thanks for watching. Contact info is up there. My phone number, 616-201-7008. If you don't have it, take a picture of it now or put it in your phone so that you have it. My email is also up there, benb@livestreamweb.org. Ramsey's phone number, 616-298-1501. Same thing. Ramsey's email, ramseyj@livestreamweb.org. Jeff's contact info, if needed, if you need to contact Jeff for any reason. Or if you can't get a hold of Ramsey or I, or for some reason Ramsey and I aren't here, Jeff will be your point of contact. 616-566-1060, jeff@livestreamweb.org. All of our emails are also on the website, linked to our pictures on the Meet the Team or Meet Our Team page. If you happen to just forget our emails, but if you can remember our first name and the first letter of our last name and @livestreamweb.org, that's our email. That's anybody, well, most anybody's email at Livestream. There's a couple, like there's Jeff's, that's just Jeff. There's, I think Chris is just Chris at Livestream.
No, it's Chris C.
Oh, it's Chris C. Okay, then it's Chris C at Livestream. Josh is Josh at Livestream. Lexi is Lexi at Livestream. So if ever you need to email any of those people. Cool. As long as we don't have any questions, comments, concerns, funny memes, not your marks, I'll pray us out of here. And I apologize for going 22 minutes over. I think it just goes to show that I'd be a great pastor because I don't stick to the time limit. All right. God, thank you for this time together. Thank you that we're able to gather and talk through history and mission and vision and expectations and how we as a production tech team can set an atmosphere and be a part of somebody experiencing your presence and hearing the gospel. I pray for safe travels home for everybody, and that they have a great week, and that you protect them and comfort them, and that they come into Sunday refreshed and renewed, whether they're serving or not. In your name I pray. Amen. Cool. Thanks for being here. I will send out another form in a couple weeks, trying to put one for February on the schedule. I will shoot for a Tuesday or Wednesday night again, in hopes that most people can make those work. If you can't, let me know. Whatever. Cool. Grab some goodies on your way out. There's plenty of left over, and I don't want to take all of them home.
And Sam White.
Yep.
We missed Pastor Sam White on that list.
Oh, where was he in there?
Was he after Peterson and before DePeel, right?
Must have been.
So it was Kelly, Peterson, White, DePeel. Yeah.
Okay.
Was there an interim right before the deal?
Cool.
Right before